So a lot of people know me, Steve's POV, for a crazy Ferrari that I owned. I had a 458 Italia. I bought the car. It was a wide-body Liberty Walk kit. And I decided to do a full-on JDM-style wrap to the car. It was wrapped. It was pink. It was white. It had LED lights all over it. Loud, obnoxious, different color wheels in front and back. My son and I enjoyed that car. We drove that car. I was on DD with that car. That was Steve's POV in a nutshell. But like everything, a good time came. The car had actually appreciated quite a bit during Corona, as all cars seem to do. A car that I bought for this amount of money and did all this crazy stuff with and put 15,000 miles on, I was able to sell for quite a significant amount more money. I sold the car and I was supercarless. And I was okay with it for a while. But I have a kid, unfortunately. And, fortunately I have a kid. But unfortunately, he has a passion for supercars a lot greater than mine was. He said, Dad, we got to get a Mercy one of these days. We got to get a Mercy. Dad, we got to get a Mercy. Ever since he was 12, 13 years old, I think the Mercy was the car that he loved more than any other car in his life. He's always said, Dad, one day we got to get a Mercy. One day we got a Mercy. I was like, hey, just sold the 458. Let's chill out for a little bit, right? Of course, being a kid, young and anxious, he couldn't chill out. He started looking pretty much that night on Facebook Marketplace and everywhere else. And all of a sudden, the kid finds on Facebook Marketplace one day, and he says, Dad, I found the car. I found the Mercy, and it's in Texas. We live in Texas. I said, okay, what do you got? He brings up this picture of a car. It's a Murcielago. It's an LP640. It was yellow for the most part, but it looked like it ran over a bunch of dead possum or live possum and armadillos, and blood just splattered all over this car. It was wrapped in this very strange looking wrap with these bronze color, the factory wheels, but bronzed out. This car was different looking. I think a lot of people were scared off maybe by how it looked, but it was on Facebook Marketplace. We see the car, and I see a guy selling the car who was questionable, I would say, in the initial look. You look at it, things, and you sometimes say, is this legit? Is it not legit? We're looking at it. I had some real questions about the legitimacy of the guy representing the car for sale. And the kid, being pretty resourceful, starts looking at the pictures of the car more, and he finds an Instagram tag on one of the pictures of the car. And he zooms in on it and says, Dad, check out this guy's Instagram. Good move. I go onto the guy's Instagram, and guess what? He's following me. He's following Steve's POV. I said, well, this makes it easy. Great. He's a fan of the channel already. Let me reach out to the guy. Send a messenger to the guy. Say, hey, your Lamborghini right now is on Facebook being sold, and something's a little weird about it. It just doesn't make sense. I think it's a BS ad. I don't know if it's really true. And he says, I sold my car 2-3 weeks ago to a guy locally here for cash. Sold it to him for cash and a little bit of a trade. He says, and the guy says this was his favorite car. He was never going to sell it. He says, it's for sale? I said, it's on Facebook Marketplace. Go look at it. It's sitting there for sale. I said, it's right there. I said, is it legit or not? Because I'm interested in the car. And he says, well, that guy promised me he would never sell it, but I'm going to call him now. If he is going to sell it, I'm going to tell him he has to sell it to you, Steve, because I like you. I've been watching your channel. I'd like you to have my car if he's going to sell it. I said, well, I appreciate whatever you can do. I'm sincerely interested. I'm still iffy about who this guy is. He says, okay. I'll talk to him. So he calls the guy up and says, listen, my buddy, who I follow on YouTube, he's a YouTuber. He does this. He's real interested in the car. I didn't think you were going to sell the car. You told me you weren't. But if you are, please sell the car to Steve. And the guy says, sure, whatever. I'll sell the car to Steve. So I started communications with the guy, knowing that I had the owner here. And by the way, too, this guy bought the car from him with an open title. Most guys, in most cases, don't have a title for a $300,000 car sitting in their hands. Certainly not signed off open from the last owner sitting there like it. It's not like I just went and bought a 57 Chevy that's in a guy's backyard for 20 years, right? This is a Lamborghini. So this guy had the car, open title, in the other guy's name. There were a lot of things about it that just weren't kosher. Negotiated a deal with the guy, made a deal for the car, and said, I want to meet the guy whose name the car is still in and you together in one shot when I get to Houston. January 1st, 2022, 2 a.m. The kid and I load up his 1999 Ford F-350 dually, 280,000 miles, right? Manual transmission, beat up old truck, a $6,000 truck we bought, and head to Houston with the trailer on the back. Get to a bank at 8:30 in the morning and meet all the players in this thing. I met the original owner of the car, met the guy who had the car, and went to see the car, exactly as it was and everything else. But a problem happened. Wasn't now my fear of who this guy was and the legitimacy of all the players in this thing. Problem was, the night before, as I told this guy I was leaving to it, a guy in Las Vegas in the car business, somebody fairly well known, I don't know him personally, but I do know of him, contacted the owner of the car and said, I want to buy your car. Now, the owner meaning the new owner of the car, the guy who had the car that I was a little questionable about. And this guy said, well, I have a guy coming tomorrow morning to buy the car. And the guy in Las Vegas says, I don't care. How much is he going to pay you for the car? He apparently told him what I was going to pay him for the car, what I was bringing a cashier's check for. He says, I'm sending you money right now, $5,000 more than he's going to do it. And the guy from Las Vegas, being a wheeler dealer, car dealer, as they are, and I can respect the move, sent him money, sight unseen, $5,000 more than I negotiated for the car. Basically, screwing up my deal real bad because I got there in the morning now, as agreed, as we discussed, with a dollar amount and a cashier check in hand. And he says to me, hey, this guy, by the way, this guy from Vegas last night sent me money. It's in my account right now. I can show it to you. $5,000 more than you sent. I said, let me guess who the guy from Vegas is. I got that one on the head. I figured out who he was very quickly. Didn't matter. I mean, my issue wasn't with him. My issue was with the guy who made the promise with me to sell me the car for a certain price and now was going to sell me out on a $200,000 car for $5,000. And the guy in Vegas smelled it and he knew he was getting the car. I had to negotiate a little finagling, but we did what we needed to do to secure the car. I had to come up with some extra money for it. We go to the guy's garage, get the title, get the car, pull that yellow, ugly thing out of his place, get it on to our old trailer and old truck, and start hauling that thing back to Dallas as my car. The guy in Vegas wasn't happy, from what I understand, because the guy who sold me the car called me up and says, I've got this guy from Vegas who's just threatening the living piss out of me. He is freaking pissed. I told him you came and got the car, and he says he didn't crap. He was going to sue me. He was coming after me. He was fuming. He just cursed me out for up and down everywhere else. I said, what are you going to do? He says, I'm sending him back his money, of course. I said, well, I would hope you would do that. But, I mean, me and you had a deal. At least, I'm a little pissed with you because our deal was, as of last night, it was fine. Now, this morning, it's changed, over all of this. I said, so, I don't know what's up, but the point was I got the car. I brought the car back. I didn't quite know what I bought, to be honest with you. We knew we got an LP640. We knew we got a 21,000-mile car. I knew the car looked pretty good, but it was wrapped. Didn't know what was underneath it. Didn't really, and it was, ugly as sin. It really was. Got the car in the garage and immediately got a heat gun out and started ripping that wrap off the car to unveil what wound up being 2009 LP640, a car sold in Las Vegas originally for one of the highest MSRPs of that year, $420,000 range, if I recall correctly, for a satin black painted, one of the first satin black painted, I think, cars of that time, LP640 with racing seats, with tons of carbon fiber, 21,000 mile clean LP640 that I scored that was hidden under this ugly wrapping that wound up being a beautiful car as I unwrapped it. And I slowly put it back to, didn't put it back to normal. I put it back to the Steve POV style, which of course included some wrapping and some other crazy stuff. But the story of how we got that car, and then the story of after getting that car, the relationship that came from this is very interesting. The original owner of the car, the guys who Instagram was on that car, I became very close with him. He was a fan of the channel. Very close. We kind of laughed later about the middle guy who got involved, who sold me the car, and just kind of how little sketchy the whole story was. But that relationship with that guy led to something that even just up 2-3 months ago led to another interesting thing. I didn't realize all the cars that this guy had. So, what else you got? Oh, I have an R33 Skyline. I have a right-hand drive Supra. I have a bunch of JDM stuff. I have Mitsubishi turbo car and this and that and everything. So, whoa. So he starts sending me pictures. And in his backyard, he lives probably on 3-4 acres outside of Houston in a real rural area. And in his backyard is grass growing up over all of these JDM cars, Skylines, Supras. He had Volkswagen. He's a big Volkswagen. Got Volkswagens, vans, and rare stuff sitting back there just sinking into the mud and grass growing up around all these cars. I just said to him, hey, did you ever think about selling any of these other cars? Not really. Well, a couple months later, got in touch with the guy and just decided, let's stay in touch with this guy. And it was a great lesson for my son, too. Don't ever judge people by how they look or what it is, because you don't know. My dad used to tell me that, too. The guy taking quarters out of a paper bag may have more money than you could ever imagine. Don't ever prejudge people. They come into a dealership, don't judge how they look and if they can buy or not, because you don't know. This guy liked me, trusted me, didn't really trust a lot of other people. And he said, Steve, I'm going to sell the Skyline, the R33. I said, okay. No middlemen this time, right? And he said, no, this is a direct deal. We bought a beautiful 33 Skyline from him. That became the car that my son had here in Georgia, in fact, for the time. Was stored here, stayed here, drove Blood Mountain quite a bit, but what a beautiful car we got for a fantastic deal from the guy. established that trust with him. Now he had this Supra, this right-hand drive Supra. And he didn't want to get rid of that car. He said, I'm keeping this car, I'm keeping this car. But this guy had another hobby that he was getting into, pythons. And if you think cars are expensive, apparently pythons make cars look like nothing. Pythons are mega expensive, especially according to what he told me. And he started investing in pythons and breeding pythons. So I stayed in touch with the guy and just said, hey, how's that Supra doing? He's like, he gave me one of those. And I said, kid, he's going to give up that Supra real soon too. I said, let's see if we can get it. 1 year, exactly 1 year to the day, this January 1st, 2023. 1 year from the day of getting that Murcielago, the kid and I loaded up the truck again. Borrowed a nicer truck this time, actually, for the Supra. Got the trailer on, headed back to Houston at 2 in the morning, got there early morning, and had to pull this right-hand drive Mark IV Supra that was sinking into the mud, into the earth. The earth was reclaiming the car. So sank there. Mud was up to the doors and halfway up the tires and wheels. We needed a tractor to pull it out of there, get it out. But we rescued, I feel, this Supra. Got a great deal on the car. And that currently is a car that's a project on my channel. We're going to single turbo it. It's another father-son project like the Skyline was and everything else. But the moral of the story is, if we didn't meet this guy and this situation didn't happen, all this didn't come together, it wouldn't have led to a Skyline, wouldn't have led to a Supra, and it wouldn't have led to a relationship with a guy that I would have never known. And by the way, too, the middle guy is not too bad of a guy either. Got along with him pretty good. A little different character, but a nice guy. Thought I had a nice relationship with him. I didn't appreciate the way he worked me, but I guess that's the world we live in. I would have honored my word. I wouldn't have done that to the guy, but he did. And showed me his colors. He would have sold me out for a couple grand on a $200,000 car. But that being said, we got the deal done. I got the car back. It's in my garage now. It's in my name now. And me and my son enjoy a super rare Murcielago that I think we'll keep for a little while.
Hey, I'm Ed Bolian from VinWiki, and recently I accidentally bought another manual transmission LP640 on Cars and Bids. Unfortunately, I was bidding with money that I did not immediately or very easily have, and so my first call was to Premier Financial Services. The simple lease from Premier Financial Services is the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. You get all the benefits of a traditional loan, like the ability to accumulate equity, pay it off at any time, and see exactly where you stand with an amortization table, but also all the great things about a lease, the tax treatment, the low payments, and things like that. So check out Premier Financial Services at the link in the description below to thank them for their support of VinWiki and to find out just how easy it can be to afford your dream car with Premier. Or another one if that happens to you.